Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN. I'm Brian Winnekins at the 75th Annual NAFB Convention in Kansas City. Thank you to Annabis Silo of Durand, Mycogen Seeds, Matt Carl's your representative serving Northwest Wisconsin, the Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley, and the Wisconsin Soybean Association. And joining us today, Davie Stephen. He's Vice President of the American Soybean Association. And we're going to talk about some issues going on with the soybean growers. And, Davie, thank you for joining us. Well, when I've talked with the Wisconsin Soybean Association President Troy Mellithan, big issues been trade, China, and that's still there.
Oh, it's there, and of course these talks started last spring, and then they got implemented. They were implemented in around July. And so we're trying to work through those with the administration and how do we move forward with trade into our largest importer of soybeans, which is China.
And when I've talked with Troy, he mentioned that 1 out of every 3 rows of beans was going to China?
Yes. We export around 60% of our soybeans out of this country. Around 31% goes to China. So 1 out of every 3 rows goes to China. So it's kind of a visual when you drive down the road and you see a field of soybeans, 3.3 is going to China.
So obviously now with this recent trade war issue, whatever you want to call it, the Chinese have been trying to outsource from Brazil, other countries. They're selling government stocks now. Is there a concern that we're going to lose this market, or we're going to lose a lot of market share even after we somehow get this all figured out?
That's always a possibility, and that's one thing that's on the American Soybean Association's mind, as well as every farmer in every rural community that gets up every morning to make a living farming. And when we look at that, we look at a market that has had 40 years of growing. And then when I look back over the last 20 years, so around 1997, we were putting about $400 million of trade of U.S. soy into China. Fast forward to 2017, it was about $14 billion. So we've really seen that emerging middle class really reshape the way their eating habits are and what they want. They want more protein. They can afford the more protein. And that's what they want, and it takes soybeans.
So what are some of the things that American Soybean Association is going to try to do to at least maybe rebuild some of these relationships once this trade war gets completed? Because we know eventually it will be figured out.
Eventually it will, and hopefully in the shorter term, and as opposed to the longer, and on what's going to really be a difficult time for farmers. But we always work with the administration. We're always in constant contact with Secretary Perdue, Undersecretary Ted McKinney, and we're in those discussions, and we've got, this is vital, and so we're always in contact with our legislators, and we're also always in contact with our administration. We've got to do something. How's this going? And they reach out to us for, what we know, because it is in our field.
We're talking with Davie Stephen. He's Vice President of the American Soybean Association here at the 75th Annual NAFB Convention in Kansas City. Davie, another big issue because of the trade war, as we've already started to see reports next year, a lot of growers may be not planting as many soybeans or maybe even just totally switching over to other crops. Is that a concern?
That's a concern, and what's making that happen, I think, is a lot of the uncertainty of our export market, to get the product out of the United States. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much we produce if you have nowhere to go with it. That really plays a vital role in the uncertainty of the market. So I'm hearing and reading that speculation is that we'll be about 7 to 8 million acres down. So we'll go from around 89 to 90 million to around 81 to 2. And I don't know how that'll play in the market, if that's what will factor into the market. Typically it does, but with uncertainty of the trade, whether it be Mexico, Canada, or whether it be China, which is the first and foremost, that will be a major factor in those decisions.
That is Davie Stephen. He is Vice President with the American Soybean Association. We're at the 75th Annual NAFB Convention. I'm Brian Winnekins for Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN.